Welcome back, everybody, to the Five Star Council podcast. This is producer Bobby here with John. This is episode 90, and every 10 episodes or so, we like to look back and kind of recap and solidify the lessons and takeaways that you should have gotten from the last 9 episodes. So with that said, let's dive right in. We'll start with episodes 81 through 83, which were a 3-part series on email delegation.
Yeah, this is something where normally we do episodes one at a time, but really focusing on these for 3 episodes, it's such a big change. It's going to make things so much easier that this is why we want to focus on, look, email is a tool. Email is not your job. And so we wanted to get a number of different versions and different thoughts on this. That's why we had 3 different episodes on it.
Yep, it makes sense. It's super important. Every lawyer is spending hours and hours of their weeks dealing with this, and we don't think you should be. So let's start with episode 81, The Art of Email Delegation with Lizzie Brooks.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to let go of that. I think everyone has a hard time. It's a control thing, but it's also, emails are so personal that a lot of times, yeah, they're business and, hey, here's your document or here's my question. But when most people are emailing somebody, they're emailing them directly like, hey, John. I think that's hard for people to let go of and kind of separate, okay, this is business. And I would benefit a lot from having an extra pair of eyes to either catch the really high priority ones or to help sort out just some of the things that are more task related.
And episode 82, Email Delegation for Attorneys with Maddie Martin, Jess Birkin, and Tyson Mutrix.
I really want to get started, John, with the mental aspect of this, because so often the roadblocks are not in our way. They're really in our minds, and getting to a place of comfort or even open-mindedness is really essential to even beginning to think about email delegation and doing it earnestly.
Episode 83, Finding Your Email Solutions with Jess Birkin.
Don't train your clients to expect an immediate response. Don't be the person who's responding to your client's email at 10 p.m. at night from bed as you're trying to get ready to go to sleep. Don't live in your inbox and respond immediately. Have maybe a little document or like a client expectations worksheet that they sign when you hire them that says, our commitment to you is we're going to get back to you within 24 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours, whatever you want to say. And then reiterate those expectations. Don't just be like, yeah, your email was received and I will look at it when I'm good and ready. Thanks.
So all 3 of these together, John, how do we summarize the takeaways of all 3 of these?
So first, there is the mental roadblock. As Lizzie put it, it's a control thing. And it's hard to let go of the control you have over your inbox because it is frightening. Oh my God, what happens if something gets missed? What if somebody doesn't do anything? Well, this is where we get to Jess's repeated point, and it's a good one. You're going to have to pay the tuition. There's not a quick and easy way to just throw money at the problem or wish it away. You're going to have to figure out what this actually looks like for you. Again, every lawyer listening to this knows that our favorite answer to any question is it depends. And now it's getting turned back on you. How do you set up email delegation? Well, it depends on you. And it depends on how you work things and how your system works. But the key, and what I've learned over the last year as I've gotten into this myself, you start small. The person who's going to help you with your email inbox is going to have to kind of get the lay of the land. They've got to walk before they can run. And what I did was have my assistants start by going through and helping me clean out the backlog of emails and get caught up. And that gave them a good way of seeing, all right, well, this is what's in there. As they had questions, they could answer them. As they started putting more responses out there, we were tweaking the language in Text Expander so that they knew what to respond with. And I could say, here, I would respond this way. For example, if somebody sends a referral over that they're not going to be involved in, knowing that the referral source goes in BCC with a message that says thanks for reaching out, thanks for putting us in contact. You're in BCC, so you see the response, but you're not included in further emails. Just figuring out what that looks like for you, what you want for your practice, is important, and it takes time. That's where you've got to pay the tuition, and you still get to maintain some control over how your assistants are going to help you.
Yeah, and even as much time as it takes to get this set up and pay your tuition, you're saving exponentially down the line. And it's not just time you're saving, but as we're, our podcast is all about client service and answering all of your own email, like this massive glut of email yourself, counterintuitively makes your service worse.
Exactly. I mean, I like to say that Isidore Sharp founded the Four Seasons, but he certainly isn't checking anybody in anymore. He's delegated that down. It's not that it's unimportant, but for the same reason that I'm not answering every phone call, I can't answer every email that comes in, and we set things up. And, there are no real solutions. There are trade-offs. Sure, not every person is getting the customized response, but we're also providing people with the tools of, when you call, the better way to get an answer from me, schedule a call. Don't just call randomly, because you don't know if I'm going to be with a client or in hearing or whatever it is. This makes sure, if you kind of follow the steps that work best for me, you ensure that you're going to get me ready to talk to you, and not just, oh, you caught me, let me put down and shift away from whatever I was working on to focus on you.
Let's move on to episode 84, where we had Jonathan Tobin with us to discuss delivering real value with subscriptions.
There's one price, and that's kind of by design. I've toyed with the idea of making different tiers, but what I like about this is it's just sort of a single entry point, and it makes it a lot easier to sell. So when I'm talking to somebody, I can just say, hey, we have this subscription. If you don't know how to engage with us or you don't know what to do, just use that, and that'll get you to where you need to be.
Yeah, and again, we're going to come back to the lawyer answer of it depends. John has put together subscriptions that look right for him. It's basically, you're getting an initial triage for your monthly subscription with him. It doesn't necessarily get you any other work other than ready access to him. And that's what's working for him. He's not, at $99 a month, it sounds like just a small amount of money. And it is, but it keeps people engaged with him. It makes sure that there is a way and a person that they call when they have an issue. It doesn't guarantee that he's solving all problems for $99 a month. This is what works for him. Each of us, as we still roll out and even consider, each attorney considering a subscription portion of their practice is going to have to figure out what this looks like. A criminal defense attorney may not need a subscription. It may not be appropriate for them. But maybe there's the value saver for the repeat offender. I don't know what it's going to look like, but everybody's going to have to make some choices.
And it's all about understanding your clientele and what does your clientele need, and being responsive to that and creating packages that work for both them and for yourself. Subscriptions are a flexible concept, and they can be as deeply ingrained or as sort of minimal as your work demands.
Right. Think about it as some sort of pressure relief valve where you're keeping people around for whatever that makes sense. In a lot of ways, subscriptions may make a lot of sense for accountants who know every year they're going to file a tax return for their clients. So rather than leave it open to interpretation, or this year it's going to take a little longer, break it up, pay across 12 months, have have the streamlined payments set up, and you're reducing the pressure on asking for payments in all one big chunk, and you're providing the relief to your clients of knowing this has been done, so this is what you need to do, and in return, we're able to kind of streamline the process, make it easier. Again, most lawyers aren't doing annual projects for clients like the annual 1040 or the 1041 for your corporate returns. But it doesn't mean we can't figure out the shorter term, what does this look like for us for a small project to make sure that it does make sense.
Great. Next up, episode 85, Going Solo and Thriving with Your Practice with Carolyn Elephant.
So I'm excited to see what happens when in the aftermath of the pandemic. I mean, one of the things that the pandemic has done is I think it's forced people to focus on what matters to them. And it's really emboldened a lot of people to start firms, especially women and lawyers of color who are just ready to throw up their hands at big law.
This was a big one for me. I really enjoyed getting to talk to Carolyn. I still remember sitting on the subway in New York in 2009 and 2010 when I was reading the first edition of Solo by Choice, and then finally getting to interview her here, see her at ABA Tech Show, and get an updated copy. The key here is there's a lot of flexibility, through line through this, but this is how you open the door. You're making your initial leap into solo practice. The listeners, you've probably already made. Listeners to this program have probably already made that leap, but even thinking back at how far you've come, it's a good gauge that there is a lot of flexibility for you. You can still create the practice you want. The tools are out there, and as things evolve and change, you're going to be forced to evolve and change with them. So here are the kind of the modern tool set for the small to solo.
Okay, episode 86, Tech Trends You Shouldn't Spend Money On Yet, with Jess Birkin and Jared Correa.
You don't need to worry about this technology. You don't need to worry about building your virtual office in the metaverse. Focus on, does your office actually function in the real world first?
Yeah, can we talk for a second about the verse? Our existing world where no one's doing this right anyway. Whenever people talk to me about Second Life, I find it hilarious, or the metaverse as we call it, because it proves that there's no end to Zuckerberg's inanity. And then you're going back to a tech that people didn't like and use 15 years ago. So how about making sure that your existing office is run correctly?
So there are a lot of shiny objects. We get distracted. And NFTs, Web3, unless you're dealing with clients who are already in this space, there's no reason for us to go running after that. There's enough low-hanging fruit for attorneys to make their service better that they don't need to grab the latest trend. Return calls, return your emails, make the process easy for everybody. Again, clients are coming to you to solve a problem. Unless the NFT or Web3 or whatever it is central to the problem you're helping your client solve, for right now, you can safely leave them alone.
I will say that I think it's worth saying that any one of these things that we discussed might mature and evolve into something that really impacts your law practice or even becomes kind of core to your service delivery, but not right now, not yet. There are a million things that you need to be focused on more, that you need to clean up, that you need to get sharpened, that you need to hone before injecting any one of these things into your practice.
Right. For right now, it's fun, it's exciting to think about, but for most of us, clients aren't clamoring for NFTs. They want their estate plan, they want probate completed, they want the child adopted, they want out of jail. Whatever it is, NFTs, crypto, whatever, all of the trends we talked about, it's interesting, but the vast majority of clients aren't thinking that way.
Okay, episode 87, Building the Data-Driven Law Firm with Ed Walters.
These are not yet known, but not unknowable. They're just unknown. These are stories that are hiding in plain sight in the data that we can understand as lawyers and practitioners. In the same way that doctors couldn't aggregate thousands of cases in a county medical practice. But once medicine became more quantitative, they could have hypotheses about how things might work or not.
So the key, the big insight from talking to Ed is that most of the data we need is just hiding in plain sight. There is so much freely available data. Yes, it's hard to get to in some ways, but I look at the probate court here in Harris County, where my practice is based. We can go online right now and pull down a lot of data about who files things, how many probate matters were opened last year. It's a simple thing to start getting that. We then have to start thinking about how can we grab that data in a regular fashion so that we can start pulling things out of it. And it may not be as simple as, well, just type in your browser what percentage of cases were this type of administration. And so, yes, the shiny object that I'm going to tell you to stay away from when it comes to NFTs and crypto, the thing to think about is, well, how can you get the right help? For our firm, we've got a developer who's helping us get the data in a way that we can use it, and then just do our own analysis right now in Excel. But there's a bigger product called MongoDB that we're looking at to do a bigger analysis of what sort of matters are out there, what are the trends, what percentage of the market do we represent. Is it reasonable for us to assume that we can get a bigger percentage of the market? I don't know. Let's figure it out. And you don't have to be a data analyst, but you should have some kind of basic familiarity with how Excel works. And I know as lawyers, we went to law school because we didn't want to deal with numbers. But as a business owner, good news and bad news, you have to deal with numbers. And so I'm not asking you to be a data scientist, but I am asking you to start thinking about how can you use some basic functions in Excel to get a lot of information about what's going on around you.
Yeah, and we're hiring somebody to help us with this, and it's not a crazy expensive project. This is not a crazy huge project. This is something that you as an attorney can do with publicly available data. It takes a little bit of digging, but you end up with being able to make really important data-driven decisions that could totally change the trajectory of your firm. I think it's not outside of your capacity, and it's worth your time.
Right. Just coming up with, well, how long does it take for a probate? How long does it take for the average case to go from the time that you file an application to you getting a hearing to the estate being closed? I've got some ideas about what those numbers are, but wouldn't it be better, and don't I sound like more of the expert when I can say to a potential client, look, the average is this. We typically see our clients do it in plus or minus those days. Yes or no? If you're behind the average, maybe you say, well, look, we are behind the average because we do this, or we're ahead of the average. We're going to be a little bit faster at it. Whatever it is, it gives you some relevant data instead of just saying, hey, we're doing what we can. It's, hey, this is the average. We're ahead of it. We're bringing that average down, not making it worse for our clients.
All right. Next up, episode 88, 5-Star Council Live from ABA Tech Show.
So a lot of things here. Obviously, going to Tech Show, it's hard not to get excited about all the shiny new tech. The thing to look at, again, on this, the legal tech landscape is maturing. I think we're seeing a bit of a plateau as there are new things out there, but a lot of it looks like tech that was introduced in other industries a few years to maybe a decade ago. It's finally coming to legal. You're starting to see some better tools. As much as we don't want you kind of chasing every tech trend, the thing to look at is there are a lot of options and things are stabilizing in some good ways. It gives you a chance to get caught up. If you don't like what you have, it's a good enough chance to look around and say, well, there's probably an alternative that may fit your needs a little better. And as I look at it, there are trade-offs. We use in the law firm certain things that we're not going to change because we're dialed in. Like as at the risk of potentially alienating some users or potential sponsors, the firm is built on Clio. I like Clio. We've dialed in, and the things that Clio doesn't give us natively, we're able to pull out as CSV files and drop into other, using Excel to analyze things and kind of generate the reports that are useful for us. That, for all sorts of good reasons, Clio is not going to develop a, what's the trailing average of your income when, it makes sense for my firm. Because we have the familiarity with Excel, we're able to kind of build out these reports for ourselves. And we, there's no need for me to switch to another case management system. We get exactly what we need out of Clio.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the attitude from attorneys is a little bit is matured as well, where it's not so much will tech help fix this, will tech make my job easier. It's how will it, and how will the tech that I already have, how can I optimize that to do what I want?
Exactly. There are lots of options. It's easy to get lost in the sea of options. Pick a few things. Know that you're not driving the same car you drove 20 years ago. You find something that works now. When it's time to upgrade, and don't get stuck on some bad tech just because you're there. You want to make sure that you can get your data out and adapt to these new trends that are here to help you.
Okay, last up, episode 89, the consumerization of legal with Kim Bennett.
I think as legal professionals, we have an amazing opportunity right now to rethink how we've delivered services, right? To rethink what clients expect from us, what their experiences are like, and a lot of that can be learned from other industries.
If you've made it this far in the podcast, you already know that I have a background from an entirely different industry, and we're bringing it here. It gives me a different perspective. We've got an episode coming up in the next few weeks with Boyd Shepard, who brings his knowledge of being a formerly practicing dentist to his practice. It's a point I haven't made in a while, but it's worth revisiting. Law is steeped in precedent. We, as lawyers, love doing things that have been done before by other lawyers because that is safe. That works in our technical practice. But when we start looking at how we run our business, we can't run our business as lawyers. We have to step back and say, look, we have to accept some risk as a business owner when we are running this business that happens to produce a legal product. But that's not, and so when we take that look at it, knowing that we're going to run a business that's going to compete against non-lawyers, the LegalZooms, whatever comes out of the Arizona sandbox for legal development and non-legal ownership, you are competing against them. You can't just wave this away. You need to look at what makes it better and easier for you, your employees, and your clients to achieve the results that your clients want to achieve. It's out there. We just need to figure out what it is. It's going to keep evolving. Your job really isn't just to liberally apply billable hours to a problem. It's to achieve a result. And how do you do that? Well, I don't know. Look around. The reason that we get a diversity of guests for this program is they're not all lawyers. We're trying to get people who are completely outside of the normal legal talk circuit so that we are getting these ideas that work in other industries, and how can we figure out how to help you build the law firm that would have been built by the founders of Disney, Four Seasons, and Amazon.
Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our 9-episode wrap-up episode. Coming up soon, we will have a Q&A episode with John. So if you've got questions for us, please hit us up on social or email us. You can email John at 5starcouncil.com with your question, and we will answer it here on the podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep on listening. Share it with your friends, and we'll be back next week.
Thanks so much for listening. You can find more info on us and get your free white paper on client service at 5starcouncil.com. You can get in touch with me at john@5starcouncil.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe wherever fine podcasts are found and leave us a review wherever you can.